So, good afternoon. I will be chairing this panel, which is on the essence of digital transformation, the challenges, but also the opportunities that arise thereof. I will speak to a pioneer in this matter, Mr. Doukidis, and the founder and CEO of OBRELA Securities, George Patsis. I also would like to welcome George Patsis. Let's begin with you, Professor. With a macroeconomic picture, we know that the digital transformation was the result of the pandemic. So the pandemic was an accelerator and a catalyst. Have we seen this in practice? What was the effect on the business ecosystem, and how did this actually affect your sector? Thank you very much. I will make a prediction for 2021, meaning things we normally see in March, we'll be looking at today. I believe that e-commerce was 14 billion euro. 5.5 million Greeks buy online right now. We have some dozens of Greek e-shops with a turnover of over 11 million euro. These are record numbers. They're record highs because of the pandemic. Well, thanks to the pandemic, of course, you may ask, are we happy? Are we satisfied? No. We lack maturity in e-commerce. We're lagging behind 3 years. Based on what we see in the rest of Europe. So this is a market that should be close to 20 million. So we still haven't reached our ceiling. And another thing that I need to tell you, another figure, is that we believe that 18,000 Greek companies have a digital organized channel of sales channel, but we believe that this number should be close to 30,000, so there's room for improvement, and this is linked to the problem we have in Greece, i.e. the small size of Greek companies. Finally, what is of great interest for commerce is that after 15 years, we see a change, a transformation in the trade sector due to the new channel. We see start-uppers for the first time. We see newcomers that don't come from the traditional, if you like, business family. And it's not a chance, it's not by coincidence that we see such activity when it comes to investments in the trade sector. So from 500 million that were invested in 2021 in the startups ecosystem, and I think it's important to mention this later on as well, around 200 million have been invested in digital. So we have some record numbers. We still have room for improvement. So the sky's the limit. Let me say that every company invests in digital channels, and 10% of the GDP is moving digitally when it comes to transactions. Now, let me move on to Mr. Patsis. Mr. Patsis, we hear that the volume of transactions has gone up. Mr. Pierrakakis mentioned this. We're talking about our relationship with the public sector, public services. It's become more digital, but we're also talking about entrepreneurship. So this growth in our digital footprint, is it only rife with opportunities or also challenges? And what about the security provider when it comes to the internet? I know you have a short video to show us. Let's begin with that. Let's start with that. So, interesting video, interesting data. So you have the floor, sir. Can you hear me, first of all? Can you hear me loud and clear? So back to your question. What you call digital footprint, we call digital universe. So it's the new digital universe that is being created. And I think that it all started in 2000, early 2000, when we started having the world using the internet. And what we actually had is that physical products were transformed into digital products. So the digital universe is a new creation. And as in the case of mankind, when people discovered new areas to expand, for example, when America was discovered, when we created the airplanes and started moving in the air, when we discovered space and started space travel. So back then, and also in the time period, we had a clash, a collision. We had a clash of interests, a clash of civilizations. We also had crime. And this is what we are experiencing now in the digital universe. We see clash of interests. We see the creation of a new crime footprint, so to speak. And let me just cite an example, if I may. Money, if you can think of money involved in transactions, it's $60 trillion. Only 4 to 5 billion is actual money, banknotes. The rest is digital transactions. So one of the first things that shifted to the digital universe in the beginning of this revolution was money. And then we had the shift of other products. For example, we now have e-commerce. We have media, we have news on the internet. So we already have the metaverse, where there are actual plots that you can buy and that you can pay for. And these are intangible plots. So this creates a new situation, a new status quo that we need to protect because it's of great value. So where the problem lies, the most important lies, is the interface, between the natural world and the digital world, the digital universe. So we in OBRELA, we monitor factories. We started monitoring, surveilling their infrastructure, their computer facilities, and then we realized that their entire production line, their systems for industrial production, the whole chain of these industries, be they energy, cash, telecommunications, or whatever. So they have within them robots. We also have computers. So robots use AI, for example, in digital infrastructure. So now we realize that this is at the edge, if you like, at the boundary between the natural world and the digital universe. So these are in need of protection as well, because a hacker that can conquer the digital universe cannot touch on the natural world. So this transition to Industry 4 is linked to cybersecurity. So our production process needs digital protection, digital security, in order for the supply chain and the the production, if you like, of a factory is linked to cybersecurity. So the entire digital economy is based on two cryptographic algorithms. So two algorithms move the digital world. All transactions use two encryption algorithms. So if these algorithms are hacked, then the entire digital financial universe can collapse. So what we need to have security behind the scenes. So we have to keep your business in business. We work 24/7. We have operation centers all over the world. We have headquarters. So 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, ensure the smooth flow of transactions, financial transactions. So there's a real war being waged out there. If I invited you to an operation center where we visualize these threats, you would think that this is a science fiction scenario, but it's a reality. It's not science fiction. Professor, let's go back to the macroeconomic picture. As as you said, innovation is more and more digital. We see a big footprint. We see an idea that then becomes a company, and it can become a trillion-dollar company. So we have the Greek startup ecosystem, which has moved forward in leaps and bounds. E.EN.E president and vice president talked about export-oriented companies and whether digital channels can improve exports, providing, of course, we have the right bridges. So what's your take on this? So first of all, digital marketing helps export-oriented companies like OBRELA. Now, the interest in this particular company is that it renders services. So when you have a service product, it's not just a promotion channel. The internet is a distribution channel at zero cost. This changes all the fundamentals of doing business. So you can be on beautiful Greek island, and you can have a business activity which you sell in 100 countries. And this is the most important thing we need to discuss in Greece. We have a difficult geography. We do not produce any products. So the question is, how can we promote what we call digital commerce when it comes to the service sector? And we can do this worldwide. So another thing I'd like to talk about is exports and technology, based on what we heard previously. So the Greek ICT market is worth 5.5 billion, out of which 4 billion is telecom. So the number seems fine. But when I tell you that in Portugal the market is 9 billion and in Hungary 9 billion, so we're lagging behind because we don't have any exports. Like OBRELA, we only have another 14 IT companies, so maybe 20 at most. So we are missing 400. If we actually have 400 companies instead of 20 OBRELAs, we have 200, then we'd add 2.5 billion to our export revenue. And we're talking about exports with a high added value because companies like OBRELA have a lot of employees, a lot of staff. So these companies offer jobs, which a factory would have to be much larger to create. So at a time of unemployment, high unemployment, it's important to have such companies. Now, the question is, how can you change the vision that a country has? The main asset that this country has is its manpower. So how many IT experts do we have? 2,500. Why? Because we have 27 IT departments in universities. Right now, instead of having 2,500 graduates, we'd have 5,000 graduates. What would the added value be? We would be on the world map as a country. So if we have 5,000 ICT graduates, Greece will enter the global map of all large technological companies that are on the lookout for such countries, for example, like Romania. And we in Greece, our biggest resource is the 100,000 unemployed STEM graduates that we have. There's no other country in Greece that has this wealth that we have. So we have 100,000 STEM graduates that are unemployed. So if we have boot camps, we can turn them in 8 months in very productive people for companies like OBRELA, for example, but also for large multinationals. So what am I trying to say by this? I believe that if this is our vision, then in 2-3 years from now, we can really change. And this country can become a regional hub, a regional technological innovation hub. Mrs. Kerameos will speak afterwards. We will ask her this because it's close to the positions by E.EN.E, but it also shows a huge window of opportunity because we talked about education and how education can be linked to all of this. So we have a low-hanging fruit. We have a great opportunity to train these 100,000 STEM unemployed, and we can then use them. And of course, we know that we can add a zero, so going from 20 to 200 companies like OBRELA. Now, Mr. Patsis, we see a lot of digital investments taking place in Greece right now. We also have a lot of cloud companies. We have data centers, digital transformation described by Mr. Doukidis and by yourself is underway in the business community, and your sector is growing. It's expanding. And I looked at the data. And we see that the country is underinvesting in security, but particularly in cybersecurity. This seems to be more domestic. We don't work with external providers. Is it because there isn't that much risk, that there aren't that many attacks, that the Greek companies are not exposed to cyber threats, or are we on automatic pilot? Have we not realized the exposure that our companies face? And it's an honest question. I think it's both. So the market is transforming, it's changing. Service provision and creation of cybersecurity providers or cybersecurity service providers is something that is underway. OBRELA is one of the very few companies worldwide that has this model. So what we undertake to do is like putting a system, an alarm system in your house, meaning you will install the alarm system, but you need to pay a subscription so that when the alarm sounds, somebody will come and help you. So we saw that there was a gap in the cybersecurity market. We see that a large part of the market has purchased all the security alarms. It has installed them, but when on Friday night, for example, there's nobody at the office to pick up your call, you may have a cyber attack, and this is something we might find out 3 days afterwards. And the average is for us to understand that the cyber attack can be happening for 6-7 months. So according to the statistics, from the moment that we fall a victim to a ransomware, ransomware is one of the most significant trends in the last 2 years. So the question is, first of all, to understand that we have fallen victim maybe 6-7 months down the line. A friend of mine in NSA said there are 2 different options for organizations, those that have realized that they've been hacked and those that haven't realized that they've been hacked. So this is what we offer. We offer timely management of threats, identifying the threats before they become huge. So let me tell you about the average KPI, meaning response time, and the service level agreement that we provide is 15 minutes, 15 minutes response time. So if you compare this to the months that I mentioned previously, you understand that an organization stands to gain. So what we add to cybersecurity is visibility. So we offer the image, we have preparedness, we have the ability to quickly respond to a security incident after identifying it, first of all. And then we also have we give the possibility to our client to improve his or her weaknesses. So thus we can help them constantly improve. So we're talking about resilience at the end of the day. So these are the new things that we actually offer in the market. And I believe that we transform the market to a great extent. Mr. Patsis, we talked about entrepreneurship 2.0, Greek entrepreneurship. So tell us about the Greek ecosystem, whether some things need to be taken care of, meaning when we are intervening and investing in digital infrastructure, whether we should invest more in cybersecurity or whether we are safer compared to other countries. No, we do not differ from other countries in the rest of the world. We're all together in this. We're all in this digital universe. And if there's one attack in a bank in Bulgaria, this will affect a Greek bank in Greece. So I think that what we call attack landscape, so we're talking about the attack landscape, meaning the landscape that can be potentially attacked. There's one single landscape. It's not that the cyberspace of Greece is separate from that of Bulgaria. And there is no governor. There is no captain, no leader. This means that there isn't one person worldwide responsible for the cyberspace. And this is what's led to this problem. We don't have an Interpol which says no matter what happens in the cyberspace, you're going to call me. There is no 999 or 991 or a hotline where you can call the police and say, hello, I've been attacked. And if there is a cyber address in the police headquarters, well, it depends on another set of directorates in the countries from where this crime started, meaning somebody will not attack Eurobank Piraeus from Greece. This will be from Russia, or Russian, Chinese, Thai infrastructure will be used and and parias will be attacked after a while. And when you find out the truth and go to the source, it might be too late. So we see that nobody uses legal recourse or going to the police and so on and so forth. So just one thing before we close on an optimistic note. We're talking about digital digital transformation as an ally to growth. So we're talking about synergies. Synergies when all these big companies come to a country. It's not just human resources. Mrs. Antonakou said that many of these companies have great synergies with local economy and local society. So we're not talking about jobs. So another thing compared to what Mr. Pierrakakis said, for the first time we see the public sector being a step ahead from the private sector. So Mr. Skylakakis made an announcement 2 weeks ago. He talked about e-invoicing for the public sector. He made it compulsory. So 190 suppliers of the public sector in 2022 will send an electronic invoice. This is something that we waited for the private sector to launch. And I see that Mr. Skylakakis and Mr. Pierrakakis lead the way. They show the Greek business ecosystem what it needs to do. So we see that we need to have a compulsory element in B2B. So we live in interesting times and things seem to be changing somewhat. So I am optimistic about the result. So we will renew our discussion. Mr. Doukidis, Mr. Patsis, thank you very much. We'll stay in the room. We move directly to the next panel with